if we could speak at each other through devices from now on, that would be fantastic.
Well, I mean, it's not like this current generation doesn't do that anyway.
Yeah.
So there might not necessarily. It was just like, who are you talking to? My girlfriend. Like, can't you just go talk to her?
No.
Like, well,
She's right over there.
Yes. or as you like literally, it's like, you see both, like two guys sitting, like my son and his best buddy. They're sitting there and they're like sitting next to each other on the couch and they're like texting back and forth. And like, who are you guys talking to? I mean, why don't you talk to each other? They're like, we are.
Don't even get me started. I'm so annoyed. Freaking teenagers.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh,
like, dude, that's what words are for.
Oh,
I did tell people, I'm like, look, this is going to be a struggle to continue to keep communicating through text and through emails. And, this working from home is going to make it a lot easier for us to at least get on audio.
Yep.
And audio, you can kind of understand, at least you can hear inflections, you can hear disgust, you can hear joy, you can hear whatever.
Yep.
And you will at least understand the point they're making.
Right.
So I was like, let's do that far more often. And they're like, you mean talk to people? Yes.
Oh, man. I'm going to try to find some stuff to do that's not work.
I think I'm going to go wrap all of my intakes on the truck in some form of filters and go out for a drive. I
don't think you need to do that.
I'm looking. Yeah, I know. I'm kidding. I need to look for a like a brush bar with spikes on it. I'm gonna put spike lug nuts on there. Get a couple of, or I need, on the roof rack. I'm gonna get a couple of like spare tires and stuff just to make sure with some gas.
Mad Max that thing, man.
Totally Mad Max.
Good idea.
And just get ready. And I'll have like.
Are you prepper?
I'll have two like of those big like heavy poles on the sides where the kids can like swing over and like grab stuff from other cars.
Yeah, I've got some pictures from the Peterson Auto Museum of the Mad Max cars with those giant poles sticking up off the back for that reason.
See? I'll
send it over so that you have some inspiration.
Yeah, hopefully you have like detailed pictures of how they were attached to the car.
I have some good detailed pictures of like the flames that are embossed in the exhaust pipes and stuff like the little details like that.
Nice.
Yeah. It's those little details that really make the difference. So I'm expecting some craftsmanship from you on this.
So speaking of which, when do we actually start dressing that way?
I've seen some people dressing in camo because they feel like they're taken more seriously.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, full camo, go for it, man.
Yeah. That's well. At least now there's some of our friends have. I'm sure you may have seen like their post of like he's like, oh goody, now they're offering drive-through ammunition. Like
what?
Yeah,
like we need that.
It's hands-free. We don't, no touch ammunition distribution.
Contactless distribution. Sweet.
I was like, if you can just wrap that up in a liquor store as well, one-stop shop.
Yeah, there you go. If nothing else, man.
Exactly.
Guns and alcohol. Keep it safe. Keep it sane, kids. Welcome to ArchiSpeak, the podcast that talks about what it's like to work in the profession of architecture. So, are you sheltering in place?
We are. Actually, what's interesting is our county is leading the charge in, how shall we say, affected victims. We've, because this is the DC suburbs, and we typically have got, and I've said this before on older shows and stuff like that, where like my kids' schools typically represent, like, my daughter's elementary school when she was still there had 42 different nationalities represented in our school. So we have a lot of international travelers and things like that. And with that, many people have, come and gone through the early parts of the virus before it was, even shown to be something. And so I think it came back probably a lot earlier than people were detecting. But what's also interesting is that, with all of the different people who work here, all of the different agencies that are around here, you've got Department of Defense, you've got all these different leaders in medical research, you've got the NIH just blocks from my house, that we get a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're like, oh, that's just hearsay, that's just false news. And then it comes to fruition, and you're like, I don't know if I want to know these things.
Right. Jeez.
Because my son's girlfriend's mom works for the NIH. And so, information comes around. I mean, she's not really telling us anything, and I don't want her to because I don't want her to get in trouble. Well, I mean, I don't want to cross any boundaries of people disseminating information that they're not supposed to.
Yeah, right.
But, you've got, when she's just taking precautions for her own daughter, then that, you should seriously take those similar precautions for your family as well.
Right.
And it's been interesting, and even more so as as you look through the different news media outlets worldwide, when they talk about the U.S. and the different institutions that are leading the charge for it, whether it's the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health and all of these other ones, and then, oh, by the way, they're also your client. You have a lot of interesting information that you can get from them as well. Again, not going to disseminate any of it, but all I can say is that, if they take it seriously and they're on the front lines, everybody else should take it seriously too. Because, I mean, it's just one of these things that, unfortunately we don't have, everybody's like, oh, but the flu, spreads and, kills X amount of people and all that other stuff. It's like, but here's the thing, the difference between the influenza and this is they actually know what it is and they can treat it. And a lot of times, most of those deaths are people are like, it's just the flu, I'm fine. Whereas this, yeah, we know what it is, don't know how to treat it yet. So be a little smart. And so I have honestly learned that, not that I wasn't taking it serious. Our office deals with a lot of people, and I know you guys do healthcare as well. And your clients probably take it extraordinarily serious as well.
Yeah.
It's just when you see them take it serious, you should probably follow suit. Yeah. So, what about you?
I would say that, well, let's see, I've got 3 different chat applications open at the same time right now, even on the weekend. Yeah. I've got every video conferencing utility installed. I think I spend more time in meetings. I think that's one of the things that I didn't, because I haven't worked from home in such a long time, that it is really hard for me to adjust to actually having boundaries with that kind of thing. And my desk,
God,
you didn't have boundaries before.
Well, but it's what's funny is it's become even worse.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because we have 2 kids who are already homeschooled, so they're not experiencing a lot of change except for every extracurricular activity that they participate in. But they're all kind of crammed into our office with my wife, who also worked from home, and I was not going to set up in the same space as them. I'm on conference calls all day long, and they're, my daughter's in classes and my wife's trying to work and also teach them. And so I set up in another place, and that other place, the only other place, was a very small corner of our bedroom. And so now, your bedroom is actually only for 2 things. And one of those things is sleeping, and the other thing is other things. So if if you're
clearly not work.
not work. And now it's like it's right there. And it's not like I can't just shut the laptop and turn off, but because I can see it and it's so available, I don't stop thinking about it. That's all. So it's not like I'm working all hours, but I'm thinking about work a lot more. And I think one of the things that has really started to creep into my mind in the last few days, now that we're getting more used to this and we're actually seeing, some of the benefits of it, and everybody's kind of going through this struggle together, is why would we ever want to go back to quote unquote normal? Because I think a lot of businesses are thinking,
absolutely.
Let's go back to normal. How soon can we get back to the way things were? And, let's be honest, a lot of the way that things were broken, and we were just dealing with them.
Yeah.
And so now I think we're in an incredible time of opportunity to kind of rewrite a lot of the rules and hit the reset button on so many different things that we actually have this opportunity. And I think that's one of the other reasons why I'm just thinking a lot more about work.
Well, and you're really kind of on the forefront of having to think about a lot of these things. But I know that the lead up to the shelter in place orders that came down from our state and the determination on whose essential business is and all of those other things. And thank you, Governor Hogan, for saying that architects are, but for some reason contractors aren't. I don't understand that one yet, but whatever. Mm-hmm. But as we were starting to, think about these things, I was on conference calls driving in, early on to try to head a lot of this stuff off at the pass and say, okay, what do we need to do? And I told, a friend of mine as we were commuting in together, and I was just like, dude, this is going to change the way we do business from here on out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like we may not think that it's going to, but it is going to. We've been growing recently as our office has. I mean, our office has been growing and adding people to the roster or looking to, hire and things like that. Yeah. And we look around the office like, oh, we don't have a lot of space, so we probably need to redesign or reconfigure the office. Yeah. I don't know if this is a conversation that our office is having or not, but the question is do we really need to now? I mean, are there other opportunities to maybe not have as big of an office space as we really need?
Yeah. You're fully virtual now, right?
Well, so
space is a luxury. That's the way that I'm thinking about it. So if it's a luxury, what is the best use of it?
Well, here's, another just lament that I've been sharing with, my clients is, so we've been working, pretty seamlessly on the project that I've been on. And, here we're trying to wrangle, this big near 600,000 square foot, addition renovation to, medical research facility. And so we've got a variety of different projects going on at the same time. We've got, schematic design development, construction documentation, as well as construction administration of enabling projects to get some of this stuff. So there's a lot of moving parts to this project. And we were talking about it and talking about how we need to manage all of those things and who's doing what and, which person will be assigned to which area and, who's ultimately the, go person for say our office and, the client contact and the contractors and all these other things. And, as we're in all of these other different phases, well, I'm going to need some additional information about the site visit, or I need to do a site visit so I can find out some existing conditions. Well, we've got contractors and consultants who are coming in from different areas, and so their companies are looking at, we have travel bans, and at first it started off with only necessary travel. Well, then that started to basically taper down to no travel.
Right.
And so, we've got engineers in New York, we've got engineers in Boston, we've got engineers in Philadelphia, down in Virginia. And so we've got all of these different, engineers that need to get into the site. Well, how do you do that? And so, we're managing and talking about all these different things and thinking about it. And I'll go into kind of how we're doing some of those things in a little bit. But so as we're kind of ramping up this work from home, effort, I was talking to the client, and I, mistakenly log on to my computer when I wake up in the morning to go, make coffee and all that other stuff. And almost instantaneously, I start getting hit with phone calls. They're like, oh, Cormac's awake.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's phone calls and emails and, let's do a real quick Zoom chat and all of these other things. And so I commute 2 hours, sometimes 2 hours and 15 minutes a day, there and back.
No more audiobooks for you, my friend.
Well, that kind of sucks.
It does suck. It's part of your mental health. Like it's the hygiene.
Oh, it totally was. Well, we commented on it. And so those 2 hours that I was normally commuting and still doing the 8 hours in the office, so that's 10 hours of my day that now are literally dedicated to straight work.
Yep. And sitting in a chair.
Which I will say this, that, as we started ramping up, they said, take home whatever you guys need. And a lot of times people were like,
oh, yeah, a chair is a key piece.
And I was the only one.
What?
Who said, you know what? I had sat through my very first, because we were still going back and forth into the office early on.
Yeah.
And so I sat through my first conference, basically an all-day conference session, and I was sitting in our chair, our dining room chairs.
Right, just a wood chair.
My back was wrenched.
Yeah,
I could barely move after that. I'm like,
yeah. One of my teammates was in the same boat, and I was like, "You take your chair home."
It's like exactly. So I
and she did.
The next day, we were meeting up to talk about, again, these efforts of the shifts of the team, because, I've got one of the larger teams assembled for a per project, team, and so I wanted to go in with principal in charge and all these other ones to sit down and talk with them about like all of our next steps and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm taking home my monitors. I'm taking home my docking station. I'm taking home my chair. I was like, now, if by some chance you guys frown on me taking home my chair, you can fire me, but I still have your monitors, your docking station, and your chair. So your choice.
I'm sitting on a yoga ball because I actually have other chairs around here, but I find it to be a pretty good chair to sit on. It's not uncomfortable. It forces me to kind of move around and not get not slouching. You can't slouch on a yoga ball, which is good for me because like my gym's closed. I can't do anything that except go for walks now that I could do before. And I think that was also part of my normal mental and physical hygiene / sanity, right? Was going to the climbing gym on the way home from work 2 or 3 times a week. And now I can't do that. So I get a little tiny slice of physical activity between the yoga ball and my hangboard and some lunchtime walks, and that's it.
Amazing. I mean, it is really kind of.
And again, I think that's why I'm thinking about work so much, is because I'm not. It's very hard to disconnect. Even on a walk, your mind just goes and goes and goes, right? It's one of those things where a walk is a great place to figure things out. Yeah. But it's not a great place to really disconnect unless you really try and you look up at the sky, look up at the trees. But a lot of times you're kind of looking down at the sidewalk and because your mind, it's like the Tesla, right? It's looking at the road because that's what matters when it's doing its self-drive. That's me on autopilot, right? As my eyes are gazing at the sidewalk while my mind is racing. Totally.
Yeah, yesterday I think we were on marathon calls, and what's interesting about all these things is everybody's just like you've seen all of these memes come out. It's just like most commonly used terms during conference calls. It's just like
the bingo.
Sorry, I'm late. Yeah, exactly. It's sorry, I'm late. Am I?
You're on mute.
Exactly, and all of this other stuff. And most of the time, like yesterday was amazing. It's just like, guys, I'm on the phone. I just want to let you know that I'm not gonna. You're gonna hear some stuff in the background. I'm actually on 2 different other conference calls and chats at the same time. Now, the person that we were talking to, she needed to be on all of those because of the position that she holds and what's going on in the world and she's a part of all of that.
Wow. Jeez.
So she had to, but she also wants to know, hey, by the way, I have this, this big project going on that I also want to ensure is moving along at the rate that, because, thankfully, and let's just cross our fingers and knock on wood and all these other things that it'll continue to keep moving. But we are continuing to move. And unfortunately that we've heard from friends of ours, I'm sure, throughout the country at least, that, a lot of people are, starting to become afraid of the economy. And so they're starting to halt projects and things like that. And
right.
And it's clearly becoming extraordinarily worrisome, on what our future is. And I think, the 2008 recession will pale in comparison to what ultimately ends up here if, we're not able to get back into work and things like that. Because, we literally can't even go out to go shopping because stores are closed. Restaurants are closed.
Right.
All these different things.
Everything's a ghost town. Yeah. But what was interesting is just like everybody's just, like dealing with this in a very dynamic and almost fluid way. The constant used word is, this is a fluid situation and we will let you, just stay tuned. And so, that's what we always continue to stress with our contractors, our consultants, and everybody else is like, look, we will get, you're looking for information from our client. Well, our client's primary, their primary focus right now, yes, they want this project to continue to move forward, but specifically, the Hopkins project they've got other things to worry about. Right.
And they are not worried. They are worried about this project, but bigger picture, guys.
Yeah.
And so let's do what we can do. Let's just continue to keep coordinating between ourselves and get as much of this as we can get going. And then, involve them as much as we can. Make sure that we, keep them informed and be as transparent as possible about any questions or concerns or anything else. And they will get back to us when they can get back to us.
Yeah. So how did you guys deal with like continuity of your projects as you, all of a sudden everybody went to work remotely? Did you guys have any issues with that or?
Well, that though we do have a lot of local projects, we also have a lot of projects that are outside, like we fly to and, around the country and everything else.
Right.
And so a lot of those, we do a lot of remote conference calls and things like that when we're not actually physically on site. And so we've already had a mechanism in place with all of our clients to be able to do a lot of remote meetings.
Yeah.
And so I think more so us than a lot of people that I've talked to, we were already set up to handle, a switch to remote. The biggest switch for us was our equipment, our network capabilities, and shifting from, being basically hardwired in when we were in the office to everybody switching to wireless networking. And how is our network going to be able to handle that? Switching all of our models and stuff from, basically server based to, BIM 360 and making sure that
Right.
was, working and up to snuff for us. And honestly, switching from, we had X amount of licenses for BIM 360 to now expanding to the entire office. So there's, there was an expenditure that, we weren't really
Unexpected.
expecting. Exactly.
Yeah. We did the same thing. That's what our team was basically responsible for. And I think we've put over 80 or 90 models into the cloud in the last week.
Wow.
Which is insane because we didn't depend on it that much before because we didn't have to. And now we have to because we didn't have the virtual desktop set up correct, to be able to handle a ton of people. I won't say it wasn't set up correctly. It just it never needed to handle that many people. So that wasn't an option because that takes a huge pivot. So it was like, okay, I guess we're moving everything into the cloud on BIM 360, which is not easy, right? There, we have a 3-page long checklist to get things into the cloud for every
Right.
project.
Right.
And every project's different, has a different set of users, has a different set of consultants. And so it's like trying to apply, every project has to be opened, audited, purged before it goes up. Then once it's up, you got to go through this pretty strict check to make sure it's all working. You see how many CAD files are linked from people's desktop and
Right.
stupid crap like that. It's like, well, I guess I didn't need that. So you start to run into all these issues and then you get like, normal residential internet issues popping up, right?
Right.
People
Exactly.
are all on wireless. They have huge latency issues where that doesn't happen on enterprise grade networking. So people are like, man, it's slow. And it's like, you have no idea. Like there's way more packet loss. If you can hardwire in, do it. But most people can't because they're setting up their desk somewhere where they can't, or they don't have a cord, a cable to do it. So yeah, it's like we basically put together an FAQ in our digital practice team for the whole firm about working from home and have all these different sections, and it's just living on the internet and it's just updated all the time and with different training links and how to do this and where to put in an IT help desk ticket and where to put in a request for this. And all of a sudden our IT department went from serving 7 locations to over 350 locations. And it's like, how do you do that? It's been quite a challenge, but I feel like, everybody understands that it is a challenge as well. It's not like there's super high expectations for it to work exactly like it did the day before.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's like we want to keep this as continuous of a process as it can be and not have downtime, not experience downtime. But, everybody also knows that it's kind of obvious there's going to be or has been.
How have you dealt with like your network security and things like that? One
of the nice things about being on BIM 360 is you're not on our network. So it's all done through your credentials. But if somebody does have to get in, we have the VPN. And that is one of the biggest issues is that when people are working from home and they're on their networks and like there's a lot more security issues that could happen. So luckily we had a bunch of that stuff set up already.
So do you just do straight VPN type connections, or so we switched from doing our normal like VPN login to what is called Global Protect, and what that immediately does is connects us. Like my computer is a office issue laptop, and so when I crank it on, even though I'm on my home internet, it automatically connects it as if I'm connecting at the office. Right. And so I have seamless connectivity to our servers and our licenses and all of that other stuff. So I don't have to worry about that. And because I'm, literally one of the only people that are actually using my internet, I've actually found that I'm faster at, at work. At home than I was at work. And so, we sort of had, half the office kind of VPNing in and half the office was set up with Global Protect. And as we've been rolling it out, John Eaton. So, John has been working, feverishly to like get everybody kind of hooked into Global Protect. And it's increased our productivity because we don't have the lags that we were experiencing when we were just doing straight VPN. Because we had people who were having, and while we were talking, I did a speed test on my internet, and I have a download speed of 201 megabits per second, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But we were having people who had 11.
Yeah.
And they were really struggling to get things working. And honestly, in the past 2 weeks, the 201 is the lowest mine has been.
Well, what's interesting too is file size does matter. Like larger files are actually easier than a bunch of tiny files. It just because of the way that all the networking works. Yeah. Sending a bunch of small files is much harder on the network. And so and then there's different applications that have different levels of chattiness, right? So like Revit's pretty chatty. So it's always communicating syncs and, elements and what changed. And then there's other apps that are not chatty at all. The chattier ones make things go slower, and that also increases the risk of issues popping up. So There's so many things going on that people are just not aware of. Like they're just expected to work, right? The other issue is you've got someone in the other room streaming Netflix all day long.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that doesn't help. We have a huge pipe in our Ontario office that, I think what our IT director Jason is saying is that it's never gone over. We've never used more than 25% of the capacity since everybody's been working remotely.
Wow.
So there's plenty of bandwidth to get into the servers, which is good. But that's just because we have an enormous connection there. So we're routing all of our traffic through there. And when that happens, it really starts to put the burden on the home networking equipment.
Yeah, and so we've sort of, we've over the past 2 weeks have been kind of getting beyond that, which has been really good to be able to do that. And then, we're finding that, interestingly enough, I mean, yes, there is nothing that is going to replace the face-to-face, getting up and walking over to somebody else's desk and having a conversation with them. But interestingly enough, the ability to have constant chats and video calls and being able to share screens and being able to actually mark up on screens when you're talking to somebody else has been, pretty fantastic to be able to say, no, this is what I meant or something. We had a interiors coordination call yesterday, which was specifically about, AV equipment and AV layouts and stuff in different conference rooms throughout the building. And so we had 5 or 6 people on the call.
Mm-hmm.
And we, shared a screen. And I heard you talk about that you had, a variety of different, utilities that you've been using, I'm sure. So let's run down the 3 main ones that our consultants or clients or everybody else has been using is Zoom, Teams, and Skype.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, people are still using Skype for business. Our contractors, our engineers in Boston are using Teams, and we are using Zoom. And so there's, interesting, abilities for each of them, and all of them have, video screen sharing and stuff like that. But one of the things that we really like about Zoom is the annotation tools, where anybody who's on the call can sit there, click on the annotation tools and say, no, what I meant was let's put the door here. Yeah. And then they draw the little door in there and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that there. And, you can do a screen capture of all the different, iterations that you do. And yes, it looks literally like at the end of one of the calls that we, or we were going over just one room, and that one room looked like a typical piece of trace paper when you've got so many different people adding ideas onto it, and it's so layered up with this user's magenta, this user's green, this user's yellow, and so there's this rainbow of markups all over this thing, and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what we want to do. And you add notes and you add all of this other stuff, and the person who was hosting, she was doing her markups in Bluebeam because she was hosting the Bluebeam session. And then, so you had all of these different things, and you do a screen cap, and you basically post it into, and we're using OneNote as kind of like a collection point for, so we have like a shared folder that has, I'm, putting all of the, task lists and open items and things that are coming in, and I'm filtering it through all the different engineers and contractors and putting kind of like a task list together. And, we have open items, and then we have hey, we just had this call, and here's the images, that we had just talked about. If anybody has anything differently or they want to add meeting minutes to that, do that. And surprisingly enough, the communication has been pretty damn good.
Yeah. I'm envious of the markup tools. We don't have those because we're using Teams.
Zoom, man. Zoom is, to me, and they're just like, everybody asks us, why we chose Zoom over the more native Microsoft stuff, especially since everybody's using Outlook to schedule meetings and things like that, and you get your plug-in for Zoom. But honestly, I will preach, when I shifted from just doing my normal, like marking up things and stuff like that in Adobe, doing one of the Adobe tools when I was opening up PDFs, and it was really laborious to do your like really good markups in Adobe. So you'd always you'd print them out, and you'd mark them up, and then you'd scan them.
Right.
You'd scan them, make a PDF, and then put them back into the system. And then when Bluebeam came around and I started using that more and more, I was just like, how did I survive without this tool? And we've done, again, now this my 5th year at this office, and doing a lot more video conferencing. We had gone from, Skype Pro to Zoom, and Skype Pro was fine to just have conversations and then present things, but not really do much more than that.
Yeah.
To being able to now literally mark up on the screen and, continue to keep having those like really dynamic conversations going.
Yeah.
Now I'm just preaching, it's like Zoom. I even, so now my wife is, she's this past week has been teaching from home. Mm-hmm. And, you want to talk about, I will say that, we can talk all day long about, coordinating projects and, contractors and on-site work and all this other stuff. And that is complicated, sure. Try doing that with a bunch of first graders.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. And so she had started off with, just doing, I believe it was some Skype chats or Google Hangouts. And those were fine, but they didn't, apparently there was a limit of people signing into Google Hangouts and all these other things. And so I just showed her, I was like, look, use Zoom. And I showed her because she's seen it, me doing it all day long and all day long. Yeah. And she's just like, that looks really easy. I'm like, it is. And so she did it. And, now she's sold on it as well. And I was like, it's a good tool to be able to do a lot more interacting.
And you can see more than 4 people on the screen at the same time.
And you can see more than 4 people at a time. Although most of us, because we're, have either refused to shave or comb our hair or change our clothes, we decide, maybe video chatting is not the way to go.
Oh man, I feel like you have to.
So we do when we're doing like inter office calls. We definitely do video chatting. Because we don't care. It's just like, hey, are you day drinking? No. That's just behind me. It's just where I set up my calls. Like, all right.
It's the only place I could set up my home office.
Exactly. It's right next to my home bar.
Right. Priorities.
But I will say this, and I hope you guys have not experienced this, but I experienced several times where I have been welcomed into other people's bathrooms.
I heard about this.
Oh, my Lord. So we're sitting there, we're having a phone call, we're having this phone call. We've got 30 people, 30 plus people actually on this call. It is a owner, architect, contractor call. We've got subcontractors. We've got, like countless people from the owner side of things, countless people from the architect engineer side of things, and then, tons of people on the contractor side. And we're all sitting there, and, most of the time we always like, just if you're not talking and you've got a lot of background noise, make sure that you mute your phone so that people can hear. And that's a constant that we're going to continue to say is, mute your phones when you're not talking, because of the background noise. So then we hear rushing water. Now, we all knew what it was, but we were trying to ignore it and continue to move on. And you could hear people were kind of like, the people who were talking kept stopping because they were almost, am I really hearing this? Why am I hearing this? Why hasn't this person muted their damn phone? Why haven't they realized anything? And then, la, 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 and then flush. And the first time it happened, we just all died. I mean, we were laughing our ass off.
Oh, dude, somebody, I just heard a story about somebody who, they had the video going.
Yeah, actually, so one of the guys from our office, he posted it on, he posted that experience that he and I had shared with this person who will remain nameless, contractor, that, was going to the bathroom in the background. And I was just like, thank goodness it wasn't a video call. And sure enough, this guy's wife, had sent me a link of a lady who was on a video call with everybody else and, went into the bathroom on a video call. And you're like, wow. You hope that people are like yelling to her, such and such, please, get off of, we see what's going on. Please stop doing that. I didn't hear anybody like yelling to her, hey, we're, doing this in enough time for her to react to not drop trowel and go to the bathroom in front of everybody. We're like, oh, I feel so bad for her.
So we did have a full-on Michael Scott moment from The Office.
Oh, no.
Where somebody, and they did this on purpose because they thought it would be funny, but I think it just kind of fell flat on his face. He did a meeting from his hot tub.
Oh, jeez. Really?
It was like, people were like, it was a cringeworthy moment. It was just like, I gotta leave this meeting right now.
So my wife was telling me that they had a virtual staff meeting and everybody was doing video calls. And apparently one of the teachers just went ahead and did the video chat from their bed, laying in bed. Just
dude.
Laying in bed, having this call. You're like, come on, man. Yeah.
So that's one of the things I think is worth talking about is that
the decorum of video calls.
Well, just like get up and get yourself ready for work, right? And
Yes.
And don't allow the laziness to creep in to the point
True.
where you are truly blurring the lines between work and home. Like, get dressed, brush your hair, brush your teeth, like do all the normal things that you normally did, because if you don't, like you don't mentally shift into the workday, and then it is harder to turn it back off.
Agree.
I think it's just more of a mental fitness kind of a thing.
So what you're saying is that you don't get up and change from your night pajamas to your day pajamas?
Day pajamas, yes.
You don't have those? I'm dressed right now.
The Hugh Hefner smoking jacket.
Yeah, exactly. But wow, I mean, it is. So I jokingly, it's, yes, it's me who typically does this, like, starts all of our meetings off. It's like, thank you everybody for, showing up. I appreciate, your time. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to go to the bathroom and knows where their mute buttons are.
That's just like
it's my instant
intro spiel.
It totally is. And people are just like, yeah, Cormac, we know now. Just like, do it. In this one guy who was the person we had experienced his bathroom break, he gets kind of incredulous because, we know where it is. And like, and then I literally like have twice on this. He's like, do you? And then you'll hear like snickers in the background. Cause the problem is that when you're doing these calls, it pops up with who's actually making the noise in the background.
Oh yeah.
And so when you see that guy in the background, his mic is hot and running, literally running. You're like,
right.
You were the one, dude. You're getting so pissed off that I keep saying this, but you are the one who needs to figure out where the mute button is.
Yes. I love it.
But, nobody's called him out yet. Hopefully, like, maybe their office people have at least reached out to him and said, but then I've also found, I've been working at the dining room table, which, much to the chagrin of my daughter, who normally works at the dining room table with all of her crafts. And we never really actually get to use our dining room table because it's filled with glitter and glue and clay and paper trimmings and all this other stuff. So I've been working there, and we have a bird clock, and that bird clock on the hour, every hour, goes off, and it's loud. And, lovely during the day when you're not on a conference call, but so most of the time when I'm talking, it's usually at the hour, at the top of the hour, and it goes off. And then my cat has been, voicing his opinion in the middle of these meetings, and he's loud. He's like, dude, normally throughout the day, I'm the only one here, and I like it that way. And so he walks around, basically he'll look at us and meow at us like, get out. I don't want you here. And so he will meow so loudly that people are like, hi, Cormac's cat. Oh, sorry. But, but you'll hear, so we've had people who apparently live on a farm and have roosters, and you hear them in the background. And so during our normal contractor meetings, you will hear roosters in the background crowing, which is awesome. You'll hear people's dogs and cats and kids. And normally, at the same time, my wife does her teaching at the exact same time, every day because of the routines that she wants to keep up with her class. And so she'll be in one room, trying to teach to, a virtual room of kids, and you can kind of hear her in the background. And so you'll hear every once in a while people will be like, oh, it's class time.
That's why I had to be in another room.
Yeah. Well, I think
you guys are in a tiny house, though.
We're in a tiny house.
Literally.
I had, I wanted to move everything initially down into the basement and set it up there, but I was worried about connectivity. But since it is a smaller house, I don't think I've really got that worry. And so this weekend I'm going to go ahead and move myself downstairs, because then most people are the kids they haven't started their virtual world of classrooms yet. They're actually going to be starting on Monday. And so they're going to need to get up and move around and have a place to set up to do their their classes and all that other stuff. And so
yeah, are they on spring break right now?
Still? Well, so they didn't. We had closed schools for 2 weeks, and so it was really for the one for the state and also the school system to kind of assess where they're at, what they need to do. And so they said these 2 weeks are just going to be 2 weeks that we lose. Which, my son was okay with because he had to take the SAT during the middle of that. And so now he's got some, more time, or at least we say, now you have more prep time. He's like, uh-huh. But he didn't have to take the SAT. But he also, he doesn't get to take his AP classes or his AP tests and all that other stuff either. So there's some issues. We actually even saw, a friend of ours, her son is a high school, a senior, and, they're already planning on him, not being able to walk and all that other stuff. And so
right.
It's a whole weird ramification going on there. But so they didn't take the spring break away, but now they've extended the time that the schools are staying closed until April 24th, and they're now taking spring break from them. So now we do not lose spring break, which was weird. I was like, the thing about it is that, where are you going to really go for spring break? Like, where'd you do spring break? Living room?
Yeah.
Oh, I adventured.
Minecraft. I did it in a Minecraft world.
I adventured all the way out to walking around the block, and then when I saw somebody coming on the same side of the street as me, I crossed the road and went to the other side.
Yeah.
Have you been experiencing that?
Yeah.
We
did. We actually just did that because we were out on a lunchtime walk, and there's people just kind of hanging out on the sidewalk, and they have a stroller and a baby, and it's just more out of respect for them and their space than anything. Like I don't want to get anybody upset or feel like they were imposed upon. But it's kind of one of those things you just kind of have to feel it out and figure out what works and what people are okay with and what they're not, and kind of feel like it's going to be different all the time depending on who they are and what they're scared of. And
have you been to like the grocery stores? Obviously,
we went. Jesse's been back a couple times since. The lines are still there, but they're at the local Trader Joe's. They're only letting in like 5 people at every 10 minutes or so. So man, it's like a sweet shopping experience.
So they haven't done that yet, but there's signs posted everywhere on the ground, all over, and they're like real legit signs, not like some handwritten thing, but an actual printed sticky sign that they put on the grounds. Please observe the 6 foot distancing, social distancing, and all that other stuff.
She did say there was tape on the floor one time that she went back to kind of help guide people.
I normally go at like between 5 and 5:30 a.m. when like nobody's there, which surprisingly enough recently, but unfortunately there ain't nothing there in the store either. The meat aisles,
it's weird.
Everything.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. This is an interesting perspective that I had not thought about. We were in, and like I said, there's like so many different nationalities around our area. So we've got people from all over the world living in our small little area. And so you can never really assume if anybody speaks English because they're from everywhere. And so we were, when this first chaos started and people were clearing out all of the stores, and then the kind of shelter in place quarantine, self quarantining, social distancing order came down from our governor. There was a mad rush to obviously go in and basically buy everything in the store up. Everything in the store up.
Yep.
And so I'm walking through the aisle that has the bacon and sausage and eggs and things like that on one side, and then on the other side of this aisle is all of the coffee. And usually my wife and I, as we're walking through the coffee trying to look for it, we were like coffee, the line out of Moscow on the Hudson, where Robin Williams is a defector from Soviet Russia, and he's usually waiting in lines to get like a little teeny bag of coffee for like a month, and he comes to America and he sees like this whole big aisle filled with coffee, and he's just like absolutely freaking out over it, and he kind of like, he's so overwhelmed by the choices that he sees in America that he like passes out. He's like coffee, and then passes out.
Okay.
And so we always jokingly say that. And so we're standing in the aisle, and I've passed this lady a couple times, in some of the other aisles. And so we're standing in the aisle, and she's, probably 5-10 years older than me. And so she's walking past, and, every time I, make eye contact with everybody in the store, because it's like a completely empty store, and, me being me, I always make like little smart ass comments or something like that. And I just kind of like looked at her. I'm like, people. And she goes, with a heavy Ukrainian accent, she goes, it reminds me of growing up in the Soviet Union. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, that's a perspective that I never, assumed that I was going to, have.
Right.
I'm like, wow. And then, we started talking about like, other, went on a slightly more diverse, political tangent about people without and all that other stuff. But it was interesting to like say, so this is how we're acting. We literally are like, and my wife's like so angered. She goes into a store just to look for, she came out with a 4-pack of toilet paper a week and a half ago. And that's literally the only toilet paper we had in ours because it's been so cleaned out that she's like, we need to go for a drive. And if we, today, and let's like drive into the middle of nowhere and see if we can find a grocery store in, the sticks that might actually have toilet paper because we're running
crazy.
low on some things.
So just go to your neighbors and ask them because I bet they've got them.
Well, so what was angered, when she finally found that 4-pack, this lady had, like her whole cart was completely filled with toilet paper. And my wife's like looking at her like, really, lady? Can't you just like, and then there was like another guy that was in there with their kids, and there was two little, so she had like the big multi-pack rolls, like the 16, 24-pack rolls.
The giant bundle.
And so hers was like completely filled with those. And she said there was literally 2 4-roll packs left on the entire shelves. And she walked up, and at roughly around the same time, this guy walked up and had his kid with him. And, my wife could have easily, she walked up first, and she could have easily like taken both rolls and said, suck it. Mm-hmm. She left one. Actually, she picked up both of them, saw the guy coming, put one back, and then, just said, last one's there for you, and just kept going. So, I mean, it has been very interesting to see the reactions. I mean, both good and bad. People are stepping up to help people, making sure that, like some of your older neighbors are taken care of and all that other stuff. But then there's this weird little, like, end of world savagery that people are going through.
Yeah, it's that's frightening to see that behavior for sure. We went around to all of our neighbors a week ago, maybe last weekend, and it was interesting because we just basically took it as an opportunity to say, hey, if you need anything, let us know. Like anything, whether that means you need somebody to watch your kids. Like we're already homeschooling, and this was before everybody was kind of at home anyway. It was just like, things are changing quickly. If you need to run to the store and you can't take a kid, or if you just need a roll of toilet paper, just come ask.
Right.
And it was interesting to see or hear and watch how people responded to that. Some of our neighbors who we had never met before were just like, oh, cool, you too, definitely. If you have anything, come and ask us. And then there was other ones who were like, okay, thanks, bye, right? And then there was other ones who were like, how can I help you? And like would not open the door, right? So it's the full gamut of responses that you could probably expect from a very small sampling, from a radius within, a couple blocks of our house. It was just like all over the map for the reaction type. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing manifest in the stores too, right? There's people who are like, I'm just going to take what I need right now. And there's other ones who are like, I'm going to take what I need for the next 2 years.
Right. Exactly. It's just like, we're not, you're not restocking your bomb shelter. You're getting toilet paper, just do your normal shopping. I mean, that's what I try to do is just do your normal shopping. The other day, in fact, it was yesterday morning. I went and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to grab a couple of boxes because normally I would grab a couple boxes of pasta so that because kids love eating like either just butter noodles or whatever, mac and cheese, whatever. And so normally I'll like grab like 4 or 5 boxes of them. I go in there yesterday and there's so very few on the shelves that and the store was empty, and sure, I could have like grabbed all of them and put them in my cart. I grabbed 2 and felt guilty that I had 2 in there, but there was like maybe 10 left after I took the 2, and so as I was like walking around, I literally circled back to the pasta aisle and put one back, and said, I think we can do with one, and I'll go back and hopefully there'll be some restock, but there are going to be other people coming here asking for, looking for pasta as well. And I just got greedy and took 2 of them when I only really needed 1.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is important to realize that we are all in this together.
Yeah.
There is definitely a way of thinking, I think, that would benefit more people than less if people just realize that.
So what are you doing entertainment wise to kind of keep your mind off of things?
That's a good question. I have done a couple of virtual happy hours,
Oh, that's cool.
which is they're fun. I mean, because then you actually treat it like a real happy hour and you bitch about work and you also talk about other things. What do other people actually do when they're not working? Maybe everybody share a story of where have you lived before, right? Things like that have come up, and that's been really good. It's also kind of good to just say like, man, this week sucked, didn't it? Right? Everybody, let's say it out loud. We made it through though. So that's been kind of cathartic in some ways, because it just lets everybody kind of release and let down their guard and just be a little bit more normal.
I'm assuming that my invite got lost in the mail.
Dude, I will invite you to the next one for sure. Yeah, I guess that the mail system, it's still working, right?
Yeah.
Just not at your house.
No, they're still. Well, apparently mine got. Maybe they dropped it off at one of the other.
Well,
ones,
it was weird. There was a mail person in our happy hour. Maybe they took your. That must have been it.
That must have been it. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife has resorted to, let's find every single disaster movie possible to watch.
Oh God, feed the frenzy.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, so I think we've watched 2012, and one of her favorites is always Day After Tomorrow and Twister anyway, just because it's one of those ones that you just like, they're just dumb movies, but something about them that you just want to keep watching anyway. And so she does that, and then the other day we were talking about because obviously my son's, or at least my middle child, he's just like, we got to like gear up for the zombie apocalypse. I think he's just hoping that it's the zombie.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes. And so Magdalena's just like, I'll outrun the zombies. And I'm like, we need to watch 28 Days Later. She goes, what's that? And I was just like, full sprint zombies. And she said, oh, no.
You guys should watch The Road.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
That's a downer.
I mean, we've read the book, we've watched the movie a couple times, but we haven't watched it recently. So yeah. And then didn't somebody just put a Venn diagram up or just a diagram of like disaster or post-apocalyptic like movies and books and stuff?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
that'd be great though. It's does it like show how they overlap with different common themes and stuff like that? Is that the idea?
It shows all of these different things, and then in the center it says your current situation.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. You should definitely add San Andreas to the list too, if you guys haven't seen that. That's a fun one.
Yeah, I saw that one. I have
Welcome to California.
Yeah. Well, 2012 is, California, which is so funny, is like, why is everybody else unable to drive through the streets as the streets are heaving and splitting apart and all this other stuff?
Totally.
But, John Cusack in a limousine can like jump all of these big caverns and all of this other stuff. I'm like, you know what? If things do go south, I'm finding John Cusack. I need him to help me through this.
He can do anything. Yeah, we watched a movie on we watched some really, really old movie last night called My Father Was I don't know, some football term that I don't know. Doesn't matter. It was like from the 30s or something, because we had Grandpa over last night. And I've noticed the Netflix is very slow. I don't know if you've noticed this, but even the interface on the Apple TV for Netflix is super slow, and I can only imagine it's because it's all being pushed out from the server, and it's just being nailed. So Disney Plus seems to be just fine. Amazon Prime seemed to be just fine. I don't know what the deal is.
I haven't had any issues with Netflix, because I was constantly bombarded with people telling me, dude, you need to watch Tiger King. And so my wife and I decided to start watching that yesterday, and we kept looking at ourselves like, why the hell are we watching this? And then it was like a car crash where you're like, I can't stop watching this.
Oh really? I haven't played that. I did see it on there, but
you could do yourself a favor and watch it a little bit, and then so it's to a point where you're like, okay, I really want to shut this off. I'm done with this. I don't want to watch anymore, but I just can't. Like, I got to find out what happens. Does this person do this and that and stuff? it is it is a world that apparently we have just never been privy to, and now we've been welcomed into their world and wish that we hadn't been.
Wow. Well, our thing is, and has been for quite a while now, since pre COVID-19 as well, was the Great British Baking Show. Every episode
Well,
that
yeah, we're
that can be found, my wife and I must watch, and her more than me for sure.
Oh.
But that's our escape from reality, and it is a good one. It has
Yeah,
inspired
yeah.
her to bake. She actually now has a notebook of ideas, and
Oh.
she made some biscotti last night. So it's turning out to
Well,
work in my
you
favor.
you have my address. You can well, apparently
Mailman
you
might
do-
get that too.
Apparently you don't. No, Magdalena's big on all of the baking shows and stuff, and she so both my wife and my middle child have both celebrated quarantine birthdays. So like I was able to score a really big fat T-bone steak for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it like literally like it was cobbled together like, what food do you want? And so he had T-bone steaks and mozzarella sticks was his birthday dinner. Like, happy birthday. And then there was like we had to go to 3 different stores to find and cobble together fixings for a cake. And so Magdalena, she's, because she's the big, baker, loves to watch all the shows and stuff. She made him a cake. She's, ever since she, I think, turned like 7, she's always wanted to. And now that she's 12, she's always wanted to do everybody's birthday and, make the birthday cake. And so, she went from doing the box cakes to just like, actually making, from scratch cakes, and she's gotten really good at it. And so this was actually one of the best ones she's made. And it was just basically from like cobbled food from this store and that store and this store and that store. And the only thing that she, didn't feel like doing was frosting, which apparently is a high necessary item in the apocalypse. Is everybody like stole? There was not one lick of frosting.
Oh, man, you
In,
can
like,
make frosting.
Well, you could if they had sugar. There was no sugar. There was no butter. There was nothing. Did I not send you the picture of our shelves?
I think you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were just barren.
Yep.
Crazy. Yeah, we haven't experienced that. It hasn't been that crazy here.
We have been, and we're still expecting a greater order of talking about some of this stuff, and now that the U.S. has surpassed the rest of the world in number of cases, and we were, and we can end on the doom and gloom. But
yes,
but
leave this episode on a cliffhanger.
So, my wife was looking at the cases in Michigan. Obviously, we've got family there. Her mother lives there. Her brother and aunts, uncles, cousins, all of that other stuff are there. And so, we're obviously concerned about them as well as our family in Florida. And Florida's right now an interesting case in itself. But so she was looking at Michigan specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just looked at a 7-day period. And in the chart from the 7-day period, it went from just under 700 cases to, at the end of that 7-day period, 3,600 cases.
Hmm.
And an exponential curve in the number of deaths from those cases as well. And people are just like not taking it very seriously. And it's been, now, well, and just, it's just so like everybody, this is just one of those things that please just, if you're, a conspiracist or something like that, and you don't want to listen to your government, maybe at least your local governments, pay attention to them. Because Maryland just now hit 1,000.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is like people aren't really getting tested until they actually are showing symptoms, because
right.
the hospitals just can't keep up with or a lot of people are not going in and getting tested. So the number of cases could be any number. It's just those are the confirmed numbers because people have gone in and got tested.
Well, the good thing is that our, because we do have some of these world-class medical, testing agencies like NIH and Walter Reed Army Medical Hospital and, Johns Hopkins and all of these other ones, and Georgetown Medical, all within our general area. They are making it, some of these tests available. And so, slowly but surely people are actually starting to do that. But I just wish they would actually pay attention to the other things that people are asking them to do. Like maybe not go out with your entire family to, some gathering of other people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
My mom, I was like, hey, what are you guys doing? They're like, well, we ignored the governor's orders and we got together with friends. I'm like, okay, boomer.
You're like, guys.
Stop acting like a child. Come on.
Let's talk about this a little bit differently though. So now, the boomer is an interesting one. So, the boomer generation happened obviously as people were returning from World War II, and so there was the baby boomer generation and stuff like that. So,
right.
Are we expecting the quarantine babies?
Yeah, totally. Seen that come up a couple times now.
Whatever quarantine, or we can start calling them a virus. The virus
Quarantennials.
Quarantennials. There you go. I think that's how we should. That's the title right there. Quarantennials.
Done. All right. Till next time.
Yes, absolutely.
To be continued.
My kind of luck, I'll be up on the block in front of all of my friends. This is what you get. This is what you get. This is a schedule, this is a set. It's unpredictable lest you forget. If you blow, you can bet. I know. This is what you get. This is a schedule, this is a set. It's unpredictable lest you forget. If you blow, you can bet. I know. The flow makes footprints from the pipe to the table, to the top, to the basement. Blow by blow, kinds of steel, very real, very block, but it's still very rock body. Paper, scissors, sister, preach deep. Open the rage passes and abs. Back jumps on pages after through the rages and new tool and a toy pool. And this is what you get. This is what you get. This is a schedule. This is a set. It's unpredictable lest you forget. If you blow, you can bet. I know. This is what you get. This is a schedule. This is a set. It's unpredictable as you forget. If you blow, you can bet. I know.